The last time I covered the topic of key resellers and reselling keys and codes in general, I somehow managed to miss the ethical talking part about the video, and I came across a bit blunt as to why you shouldn't buy keys from the likes of G2A and Kinguin. That was not fair of me. It was my fault that the script I'd written didn't account for something I didn't touch upon in the original video, the ethical part of key reselling that is, and I'd never got around to explaining that side of the coin, which is what we're going to talk about. Now, everything I said in the previous video still holds true to some degree. I am going to sort of change the ending, but you'll have to wait until the end of this video to know that, so, you know, let's do this. Contrary to my tone in the last video, I'm actually not against key reselling as an idea. To some degree, the money made from initially buying the key to sell on goes back to the developer, creator, distributor and publishers. Steam, Origin, Ubisoft, even Nintendo is getting into the act of digital key selling. They get their sale and their data will be a bit skewed if the key reseller buys the game multiple times, wholesale, all at once, on a sale. I do have a problem with that in general, as you're exploiting a sale multiple times for a greater profit than the original developer gets during that sale. A backhanded move as far as I'm concerned. That's just one thing I don't like about key reselling, but hey, it's here to stay for a while at least. Here's another two things. One which hurts a lot of indie developers, especially upcoming ones, and another to do with their advertisements projected towards, well, us. First off, a lot of indie developers that are out there, chances are, they care about when they release their game to the public, like with any studio really. They want to get as much money on their first few weeks as possible. That's the most important time for games, when they come out, especially since the only advertising they're likely to get is word of mouth and the front page of the distributor's site if they're lucky, if the game even does well in the first week. Key reselling sites offer the ability to buy the game that was previously purchased from them at a potential discount and make the keys selling site a significant profit, while the indie dev gets almost nothing back, save for the original purchase cost, assuming it was even purchased legitimately, which is hard to determine on sites like G2A. The same argument could be applied to non-indie devs as well, like EA and Nintendo, but they're losing thousands from their millions, money which the AAA market can get back by making shirts, printing physical copies of their games which really should be cheaper than £45, printing t-shirts, shorts, make toys and a slew of other merchandising opportunities indie devs can only dream of half the time. Instead, indie devs are restricted in what they can do to make their fan base bigger. If their game does well, the only option they have to branch out is somewhat easily printable stuff like t-shirts and mugs and sometimes plushies of characters found in the game. I'm generalizing here massively, as budgets do vary wildly across the indie game community, but you get the idea. Games that keep their AAA launch price tags on Steam is another thing that comes up quite a lot when defending key reselling sites. Looking at you, Call of Duty. This is an understandable frustration. It's in our culture as consumers to expect a permanent price drop of a game that's relatively old and outdated, like we did when everything was physical. Console games have been doing this for years. How many times have you seen FIFA 2003 in a charity store for less than £2? Exactly. You can't escape it. Seriously, there are a lot of EA games in charity shops that are really cheap now. Like, some of them aren't even that old. Some of them from like 2011. In that respect, I can totally see the draw to these sites because the game has been out for years and the game has outdated mechanics and you expect to pay less. Second-hand store sites like Hex and Game and GameStop, I assume for the American equivalent, they do this sort of thing for physical copies, not necessarily for digital ones, but they do this, and the prices do go down eventually, but on the digital market, this doesn't happen. Not really. Generally speaking, you expect to pay less, and to find out that this is your only legal option, or as legal as key reselling can be at the moment, well, I can't say I blame you. Secondly, and again, G2A is far more guilty of this than Kinguin and other sites are, but the advertising for these sites is frankly bordering on false. I'll save my general advertising lecture for whenever I decide to do an episode on adblock, but the claims that these sites use to lure you in are frankly ridiculous. I explained in the previous episode of DV about how advertising law works around the world, particularly in Europe, so if you want to watch that to make sense of why I'm so unusually uptight about this, then go watch that, then come back here. Tom Scott, a fellow British YouTuber, also does a good video explaining product placements in the UK, which covers very similar ground. Again, link in the description. The upshot is, for those who need a TLDW, is that Europe has fairly fairly relaxed laws on adverts as long as they don't outright lie to you and they're not offensive. This applies to every advertisement, even ones online, while America has almost the exact opposite. While the UK has no real laws in place, but the above still applies as guidelines, which explains why I'm so uptight about this. Anyway, G2A claims they can get up to 90% off of their games by using their site in particular places, which is true to some degree. Note the words up to 90%. I have never seen a game, personally, and I'm willing to believe that games on G2A can be 90% off, and sometimes even AAA ones, but I have never seen it. Okay, please let me know. I'm genuinely curious. I did a thorough check of their site this time, and none of the games on the front page, the games listed last time, that was Rocket League and Garry's Mod, are anywhere near 90% off, and those are the games that you'd likely be drawn to. That's why I chose Garry's Mod and Rocket League as examples in the last video, as you're likely to purchase them. I didn't just cherry pick bad examples intentionally. There was a rational reason. It's bordering on false advertising if it were not for some retro games I found. If you're into buying retro games that you simply can't buy anymore, then I'd implore you to take a look, which can be legitimately useful, assuming the seller on these sites can be trusted, which is a hard thing to determine. And don't say that G2A has a rating system, because yes, I know it does, but that doesn't mean anything, considering that most keys on Steam at least are region locked, and there's a very real chance you get a region locked key, despite their rating being incredibly high. Good luck getting a refund from G2A. Just look that up online, I don't even need to give evidence for that. I'd also like to mention that indie developers can be so much more honest and communicative than those of other companies, and chances are they're also not in the business for the money. Money helps make potential DLC and sequels and stuff I've mentioned, but most actually care about the game they've crafted over time, or so I hope. Ignoring Greenlight for basically this entire video, when you buy a AAA game from a key reseller, I'm not going to moan at you, especially for the points I've just mentioned about the Call of Duty thing, and not many people will either. I did say this earlier, but it bears repeating again, they're losing thousands from their millions. It's not likely to be a huge problem for them. Conversely, I will moan at you if you bought a game made by an independent studio like 2D Boy, Neko Entertainment, or Clay Entertainment, as they're losing thousands from their hundreds, sometimes being thousands from their thousands. Both aren't good situations to be in as a game company, and the former is just insulting the developer. Essentially, for the masses who do this, think before you play with the lives of the independent game developers you are trying to rip off. And with that, I thank you very much for listening.